A farm boy from Indiana who dropped out in the 8th grade revolutionized the entire machinery world, building an engine empire that powers everything from massive trucks to ocean-going vessels. As unbelievable as it sounds, that's the true story of Clessie Cummins, the man who took diesel engines from clunky, unreliable contraptions to the powerhouse behind today's global infrastructure. At just 11 years old, he already built his very own diesel engine from scratch and scraps. But along the way to success, as if being fired from the company he created wasn't enough, he was almost hanged for treason by the US government because of a scandalous reason involving his revolutionary diesel engine technology. But how did it all start? Clessie Lyle Cummins was born on December 27, 1888, in a small town in Indiana. His family lived in poverty, farming the land and scraping by. He was simply just another farm boy with no money and even fewer opportunities. Back then, being born into a poor family often meant your future was limited to working in the fields. For most kids in his position, the dream of doing something different, something big, seemed like a fantasy. But not for Cummins. Despite having no formal education beyond the 8th grade, he had one thing that set him apart: an obsession with machines, just like you and me. From a young age, he was fascinated with how things worked. While other kids played games or worked on the fields, he spent his time taking apart anything he could get his hands on: broken down engines, gears, old machines, or whatever scraps he found. By the time he was 11, Cummins had built his very own working engine from bits and pieces of discarded parts. Let that sink in for a moment. An 11-year-old with no formal training built an empire from junk. That's not just impressive, it's genius. But here's the thing, being a mechanical whiz on a farm didn't pay the bills. As he grew older, his fascination with machinery grew stronger, but so did the reality that he had no money to pursue his dreams. By his teenage years, Clessie knew he had to get out. His ticket? Working as a chauffeur. At first glance, being a chauffeur might not seem like the stepping stone to revolutionizing an industry, but for Clessie, it was a golden opportunity. He began working as a personal chauffeur for William G. Irwin, a wealthy banker from Columbus, Indiana. The job wasn't glamorous, but it introduced him to something life-changing: the internal combustion engine. Cummins was in love with diesel engines, a technology that was still in its infancy. He saw their potential long before anyone else did. Irwin recognized Clessie's talent and shared his fascination with diesel technology. As fate would have it, Irwin became more than just his employer. He became Cummins' financial supporter. But before that happened, Clessie met another person who helped shape the future of his company. In 1911, Cummins' career took a major turn when he met Charles Kettering, the inventor of the electric starter for automobiles and one of the most influential figures in automotive history. Kettering recognized Clessie's raw talent and offered him a job as a mechanic. This partnership introduced Clessie to a world of cutting-edge automotive technology and gave him access to resources that he couldn't have dreamed of on the farm. Kettering's mentorship was crucial as it opened his eyes to the potential of diesel engines. While gasoline engines were dominant in the early 1900s, diesel engines offered better fuel efficiency and more power, two things that deeply appealed to Cummins' mechanical mind. 8 years later, in 1919, with Irwin's financial help, Clessie founded the Cummins Engine Company in Columbus, Indiana. But the road ahead was full of twists, turns, and treasonous scandals. Cummins may be a multi-billion-dollar global company today, but its early days were plagued with failure. In those early days, Cummins focused on refining diesel technology, pouring his heart, soul, and Irwin's money into research and development, but the market wasn't ready. The company was literally bleeding cash. One of the biggest early struggles for Cummins was convincing industries and automakers to adopt diesel engines. Diesel was considered too dirty, too slow, and too impractical for everyday use. By 1924, Cummins Inc. had declared bankruptcy, not once, but twice. The company was on the verge of collapse, and Clessie was desperate to save it. One of his earliest successes came in 1930 when he developed the Model U. This 4-cylinder diesel engine offered an unmatched combination of fuel efficiency and durability above any comparable gasoline engine. But very few people knew that, and this translated to poor sales and losses. Clessie therefore concluded that he needed something big to save his company, something so outrageous that it would force industries and automobile makers to take notice of diesel engines. In 1931, Clessie Cummins pulled off one of the most audacious publicity stunts in automotive history by entering a diesel-powered car in the prestigious Indianapolis 500 race. This decision is daring because, at the time, diesel engines were considered as too slow and cumbersome for racing, with the general consensus being that they were more suited for industrial use. But Clessie was convinced that diesel engines were suitable for both industrial and everyday use. His decision to enter the Indianapolis 500 wasn't just about winning the race, it was about making a statement. So he equipped his car with the 4-cylinder Model U diesel engine, which was far from the high-powered gasoline engines that dominated the race. The car wasn't expected to win, but it did something even more remarkable. It completed the entire 500-mile race without a single pit stop for fuel. To put this into perspective, most cars competing in the Indianapolis 500 at the time needed to make multiple pit stops to refuel, and pit stop strategy was often a key factor in determining the winner. The fact that Cummins' diesel-powered car completed the entire race on just one tank of fuel made headlines around the world. It was a striking demonstration of the diesel engine's fuel efficiency. While Clessie didn't win the race, his car finished 13th, an amazing feat for an engine initially considered cumbersome and clunky. This wasn't just a publicity stunt, it was a groundbreaking moment in automotive history. And the media went wild because people couldn't believe a diesel engine could pull off such an incredible feat. The real victory for Cummins wasn't about crossing the finish line first. His goal had been to prove that diesel engines could compete with gasoline engines in terms of performance, and in this regard, he succeeded spectacularly. The Indianapolis 500 stunt helped to solidify Cummins Inc.'s reputation as a forward-thinking company, capable of pushing the boundaries of what diesel technology could achieve. As a result, the Cummins brand was finally gaining recognition. But while the stunt saved the company from bankruptcy, for the time being, it didn't make them rich overnight, until World War II. But before getting to that point, this visionary engineer had to produce other engines with even better performance and higher fuel efficiency. This made his company become popular ahead of World War II. What set Clessie apart from other inventors was his ability to see the future. He didn't just want to create diesel engines, he wanted to revolutionize entire industries. And in 1936, he did just that. Cummins Inc. introduced the Model H6, an engine designed specifically for trucks and buses. The H6 engine was a beast. It delivered over 150 horsepower and ran on diesel fuel, which was cheaper and more efficient than gasoline. The fuel efficiency of the H6 engine alone was revolutionary. It used 25% less fuel than its gasoline-powered counterparts, making it an attractive option for commercial fleet operators. Cummins engines began to power everything from city buses to long-haul trucks, and they quickly gained a reputation for reliability. Trucking companies loved their engines because these companies could cover more miles with fewer breakdowns, saving time and money in the long run. One of the most iconic vehicles powered by Clessie's diesel engine was the 1939 Cummins Diesel Special, a car that set speed records at Daytona Beach and the Indianapolis 500. These high-profile successes helped to cement Cummins Inc.'s reputation as the leader in diesel technology. This happened to be the same time everyone around the world, including enemies of the United States, wanted a piece of their groundbreaking diesel engine technology. If there was ever a moment that turned Cummins Inc. into a powerhouse, it was the war. The outbreak of World War II presented both a challenge and an opportunity for the company. With the world at war, there was an enormous demand for heavy machinery and military vehicles, all of which needed reliable engines. The US military in particular needed reliable, fuel-efficient engines for its tanks, trucks, and ships, and Clessie Cummins diesel engines were the perfect fit. They were perfectly positioned to capitalize on this global demand. During the war, Cummins engines powered everything from military trucks to ships, playing a crucial role in the Allied war effort. The company's engines were known for their reliability even in harsh conditions, and they quickly became the standard for military applications. But with success came controversy, and this wasn't just a bypassing safety checks kind of scandal. It was a sinister scandal for which Clessie and others could have been hanged for treason by the US government. Despite all of Clessie's successes, there was a darker, more controversial chapter in the history of Cummins Inc. that remained shrouded in mystery. In the years leading up to World War II, there were whispers about behind-the-scenes deals between Cummins Inc. and military contractors. Some even accused the company of war profiteering, arguing that they were exploiting the war for financial gain. Rumors were circulating that the company had been involved in attempts to license its diesel engine technology to foreign powers, including enemies of the United States. While there is no definite evidence to support these claims, the mere suggestion of such dealings was enough to create a cloud of suspicion around the company. The rumors centered on Clessie Cummins' relationships with European and Asian businesses during the late 1930s, a time when global tensions were rising and the diesel engine was becoming a critical piece of military technology. Some sources suggest that the company explored business opportunities with German and Japanese companies, both of which were aggressively expanding their military capabilities at the time. Whether or not Cummins Inc. actually attempted to license its diesel technology to these countries remains unclear, but the allegations alone were enough to damage the company's reputation in certain circles. This might have contributed to Clessie being fired from the company later in 1955. In a cruel twist of fate, Clessie Cummins would be kicked out of the very company he had built from scratch. By the early 1950s, he was no longer the sole decision-maker at Cummins Inc. The company had grown so large that new executives and board members began steering it in a direction that he didn't agree with. There were power struggles and disagreements over the company's future. In 1955, Clessie was unceremoniously fired from his own company. The very business that bore his name was now in the hands of others, and he was left on the sidelines, bitter and disillusioned. The dismissal was rooted in long-standing tensions between him and the company's board of directors. While Clessie was undoubtedly a mechanical genius, his business acumen was often called into question by those around him, particularly in the financial management of the company. His visionary ideas and relentless pursuit of innovation sometimes put him at odds with the more conservative, profit-focused interests of the board. By the early 1950s, Cummins Inc. had grown significantly, but the company was struggling with cash flow problems. Clessie's tendency to push for aggressive product development and take huge financial risks contributed to a growing unease among the company's stakeholders. Being a relentless engineer, he wanted to continue pushing the boundaries of diesel technology, while the board sought stability and profit, feeling that Clessie's methods were too risky for the company's future. The board of directors therefore made the decision to replace him with a management team that was closely aligned with their vision for the company. His removal wasn't a graceful exit or a celebratory retirement, it was a cold corporate coup. Like Julius Caesar, the board concluded that if the company must live, then its founder must be booted out. J. Irwin Miller, a relative of the original banker-investor W. G. Irwin, eventually became the president and later chairman of the company. For many, the idea of being ousted from the company they built would be a crushing blow, but Clessie was not one to give up easily. Even after being forced out of his company, he continued to innovate. One of his most notable post-Cummins Inc. achievements was the invention of the Jake brake, a revolutionary engine braking system that became a staple in the trucking industry. This invention, developed in the 1960s, allowed truck drivers to use their engines to slow down, reducing wear and tear on traditional braking systems. His revolutionary braking system has made long-haul trucking safer and more efficient. Despite his departure from the company, Clessie's impact on Cummins Inc. remained profound. The company continued to build on the foundation he had laid, developing more powerful and efficient diesel engines that would go on to power everything from heavy machinery to ships and trucks. Despite Clessie's personal downfall, Cummins Inc. continued to innovate and expand globally. In the decades that followed, the company became synonymous with diesel engines and heavy machinery, with its engines powering everything from trucks and buses to construction equipment and power generators. By the 1970s, Cummins Inc. had a presence on every continent, and its engines were used in over 130 countries. But success didn't come without its share of corporate scandals. One of the most controversial moments in the company's history came in the 2010s, when the company's name was linked to the infamous Dieselgate scandal. Though Cummins Inc. wasn't the primary culprit, several of its engines were used in vehicles that had cheated emissions tests. This scandal rocked the automotive world and tarnished the reputation of several big names in the industry, including Volkswagen. Over the years, Cummins Inc. faced multiple accusations of pollution and environmental damage caused by its engines, leading to several environmental lawsuits. While the company worked hard to clean up its act and invest in greener technologies, the lawsuits were a reminder that even giants like Cummins do make messes. Today, Cummins Inc. is more than just a manufacturer of diesel engines. The company has expanded into new areas, including electric and hybrid engines. It's working on cutting-edge technologies to reduce carbon emissions and make its engines more environmentally friendly. The company has also become a major player in philanthropy, investing in education, environmental sustainability, and social justice initiatives. Its foundation also donates millions of dollars every year to causes around the world. But perhaps the most lasting legacy of Clessie Cummins is the company's commitment to innovation. From its early struggles and near bankruptcy to becoming a global powerhouse, Cummins Inc. has always been a company that pushes the boundaries of what's possible. And while Clessie may not have lived to see the full impact of his work, his vision continues to shape the world of heavy machinery to this day. From his early tinkering in barns to his unceremonious firing from the very company he built, Clessie's story of transformation from farm boy to diesel king is an extraordinary saga of ambition, resilience, and endless innovation. His legacy is not only defined by the company he founded, but also by the countless lives and industries his inventions have impacted positively. We hope you found this story both fascinating and motivational. Let us know in the comments which company story you'd like us to explore next. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon.